Hello everyone, my name is Ray Bowman and this is my Week 5 Screencast presentation for MPA540, Human Resource Management for the Public Sector. The focus for today's Screencast presentation is various training and development resources that are relevant to Chapter 9 concepts from our textbook. So just as a quick overview of today's presentation, I will cover 5 topics that I've identified during this week's lecture and topics that pique my interest about training and development. And those 5 topics are repetition, mentoring, web-based learning, effective seminars, leadership development, and of course my references and closing at the end. So the first concept from Chapter 9 discusses the idea of repetition and active participation, and I wanted to focus on repetition. So the resource that I found was from a video from the School of Life, which focused on the concept of repetition. This video is called Why We Only Learn When We Repeat, and it cites the repetitious practices that can be seen in religions worldwide. The video argues that repetition helps the brain continuously remember the most important concepts and that learning is not a one-and-done approach. This will help with my training video next week because I'll know to repeat key concepts to help listeners and my audience remember key ideas. So just as a quick snippet, here is a quick overview of the presentation. A lot of the really meaty topics in this presentation are kind of towards this area here, about 22 seconds in. Really creative video, so nice to watch actually, so I encourage you to watch it. The second concept that I wanted to focus on was on the idea of mentoring. And the resource that I found is from the Harvard Business Review. Not only does mentorship increase employee engagement, as we all know, it increases investment and employee retention, but this article specifically points out 5 different benefits on having a mentor. I myself have a mentor and I appreciate the role that they've played in my professional development. It's actually one of the reasons that I ended up at CBU. And the 5 key concepts from the Harvard Business Review article is that mentors are a big source of knowledge. They help with setting goals. They also provide valuable connections. They can provide mentees with really useful feedback. And of course, they help with professional growth and development. This will help with my training video as I try to lean on more experienced staff members to become mentors for the new tasks that I'll be training staff on. The third concept from Chapter 9 that I want to cover is on the concept of web-based learning. The Clinical Medicine Journal published an article citing the pros and cons of web-based learning, as we know. There are advantages to web-based learning and disadvantages to web-based learning. So some of the advantages that the article had cited was that web-based learning helps overcome barriers of distance and time. It provides economies of scale and it provides novel instructional methods. But at the same time, there's also disadvantages, and one that we've seen time and time again is the social isolation component of web-based learning. You're not learning in person, in a group, in a classroom, and that definitely changes the environment that you learn in and the atmosphere that you retain that information. And of course, there's also the issue of technical problems in web-based learning. So this is important for my training video because it will help me format my training to consider which topics are more appropriately held in person versus web-based training. The fourth concept includes training through seminars, but more importantly, training gained from presentations. Chapter 9 covers this topic, and I've always been interested in what makes for an effective presentation. So I found this video online that essentially goes through different PowerPoint slides that shows effective presentations versus ineffective ones. And this video is from a TED Talk a few years back, and it provides great tips on how to provide effective PowerPoint presentations. The speaker provides 5 very tangible tips. The first one includes only including one message per slide on your PowerPoint. The second tip that he provided is to use images in your presentation. The third tip that he provided is that the size of your visuals or even the text that you use in your PowerPoint slides controls where the audience's eyes go. So the most important concepts should take up the most real estate on your slide. Fourth is the idea that contrast pulls the audience focus. So as you're running through list, if you want to make sure that they're bolded or contrasted from previous text so that your audience runs through that list with their eyes with you, do that. And lastly, limit the number of objects on the screen or on the PowerPoint that the audience has to focus on. And the magic number that the speaker provides, according to this TED Talk, is 6 items. So that can be 6 bullet points, 6 facts, or 6 visuals, etc. So it's a really great video. I have also linked it here, and feel free to watch it. The TED Talk is titled How to Avoid Death by PowerPoint. Kind of a fun watch. And lastly, the fifth resources is about leadership development. I think that training comes from the top down, and it's crucial that management get the leadership tools that they need to effectively lead their teams. This resource from the Harvard Business School cites 3 ways that leadership training can transform an organization. The first is managing change. Effectively managing change, whether it's caused by an external need or an internal decision, needs support and strategic planning. So knowing how to manage change is an important leadership trait. The second is in handling resistance. So some of the toughest areas of management can come from people resisting your leadership. Knowing how to handle this can be critical, really, in being an effective leader. And lastly, knowing how to cultivate buy-in from your stakeholders or your community members or maybe your elected officials. Those are all important. And this was a really interesting resource as well. And of course, this slide includes my list of references for this week's presentation. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I appreciate your feedback.